Hello and thank you for joining us on the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, Supreme Court dismisses David Lyon's application seeking review of its judgment on Bayelsa governorship tussle, blast lawyers over frivolous suits, and later on the show, Inspector General of Police says police need 250,000 rifles, 1,000 APCs, and 774 drones to tackle insecurity. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Dari Odufowokon. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. Every human action must have an end, even in the face of desperation. The Supreme Court has sounded the death knell on an attempt by the All Progressive Congress, APC, and its governorship candidate in Bayelsa State, David Lyon, to convince the Apex Court to reverse itself. The court dismissed an application for review of its 13th February judgment, which sacked David Lyon and his deputy, Bio Barakuma Dege Eremiyo. Delivering the judgment, Justice Amina Age said the application lacked merits and that the decision of the court is final for all ages. It also lampooned the lawyers for bringing such frivolous suits and fined the applicants 30 million naira. We saw this coming in our analysis of the matter. Let's share with you those moments with you.
It's there in the weekly law reports, and in fact, the Supreme Court punished a lawyer for bringing an application before it after the expiration of, because it was assumed that you should know that after 60 days. So in this case, 60 days is gone for Hedioha. 60 days is gone for the Zamfara people. So the Supreme Court can simply decide to use the issue of jurisdiction, that it no longer has jurisdiction because the Supreme Court, the Constitution has tied its hands. If it continues, people will not respect the Supreme Court anymore. We want the Supreme Court to be respected. We want the Supreme Court to stay away from politicians, because the politicians will pile the pressure, but you must have the conviction to say, no, stay away from me, you Satan.
Jide, don't you think this is a very, very dangerous signal to the credibility of the Supreme Court?
Yes, it is.
I think this is the first time.
The Supreme Court has the duty to restore his honor by not just giving the right judgment, but by punishing lawyers who are working with politicians to turn the Supreme Court to a political arena. I mean, what's going on is irresponsible, to say the least. Look at cases that have been decided many months ago. Yeah. If you overturn your own judgment in respect of one matter, I can tell you the pressure will be piled on you to do it for another party.
Of course.
If it favors the APC, the PDP will ask that you take a decision that favors it.
So we now know that
what kind of precedent is that?
We are semi-final.
That we are not sure that.
We are not sure that's not the final.
Oh, it's the semi-final stage.
Yes, we now
the final can still come.
The final can still come.
You know, before the same. So the Supreme Court should then be addressed as an appeal court.
No, I'm telling you.
If it is no longer the final court.
Yes.
If it is a court that will look at its own matter again.
Yes.
And then start afresh, then it is an appeal court.
I equate the judgment of the Supreme Court to that kind of a thing, that God's case no appeal. If the Supreme Court gives a verdict, there's no appeal. But now we are turning the Supreme Court into a theater, a physical theater that people will just come with.
I agree absolutely with what Keyamo has said, that it's about time that the Supreme Court descended on lawyers. Lawyers filing frivolous matters before it. It's about time. The Supreme Court must show strength in these matters, because this will not stop.
we spoke about the finality of the Supreme Court, and we predicted the danger ahead if the Supreme Court should allow this to stand.
Yeah, we said it clearly, and it's exactly what we wanted the Supreme Court to do, that the Supreme Court has done. Politicians should not be allowed to damage the integrity of the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court is there for all ages. A situation in which we allow the integrity of the Supreme Court to be destroyed, even our children will suffer thereafter. So the judges of the Supreme Court are not perfect beings. Only God is perfect. So when mistakes are made, because it's the final court, we just have to accept it. In the game of football, sometimes a team scores a goal through from an offside position, and it stays like that forever. You can then not go and ask for a replay of the match because a goal was scored from an offside position. Even VAR now.
Famous hand of God then.
Yes, even they didn't order a replay. You know, even VAR now, mistakes still get made. In spite of the VAR. You know, so anyway, human endeavor, mistakes are bound to happen.
Dari, what do you make of this? After the PDP had, after the APC filed theirs, I think it was Emeka Ihedio's own. That was the first. So what we're having today was the second one, the David Lyon's one. We still have dates for others.
Watching the clips we just ran through assured me of the fact that even in the face of confusion, there will still be voices of reason. And the best we can do for ourselves as a nation is to listen to those voices of reason. I want to congratulate the Supreme Court for today's judgment, because if it had gone any other way, we would have finally nailed ourselves as a nation, because politicians would always seek what favor them. And now we have lawyers who should be the ones interpreting the law. Growing up, even as a child, we knew that they would tell you that Supreme Court, no appeal. Even as a primary school pupil, it was a common statement. Once your case, when the case gets to the headmaster, they say your case is at the Supreme Court. Because after that, there will be nowhere else to go. And that is what we knew. Suddenly, it started with the Ihedioha case. And when that started, the APC, you will remember, cried foul. And a lot of us joined those parties to say, no, this is unheard of. This cannot be done. But I was shocked.
The APC now turned around.
When the Bayelsa judgment came, and APC was seeking for a review, I felt disappointed. Trust PDP, trust any other politician or political party. On the 24th of February, precisely, in Abuja, at what the party called a World Press Conference, its spokesperson, Kola Logbodiyan, announced triumphantly, gregariously, happily, that the party will be seeking not only the review of Ihedioha's case, that of the presidential election, that of Osun gubernatorial election, and he named like 4 or 5 other judgments they will be seeking reviews of. And a lot of people became afraid. Is this the Tea Party we want to turn the Supreme Court to? It is at least, with all its failings, with all the problems it might be having, it still serves as a form of check on the excesses of both the executive and the legislature. We know that when cases get to the Supreme Court, rising through the judicial process, whatever is said here, there will be mistakes. Like Vajide said, there will be mistakes. But we just have to accept it. All we should be saying now is that the Supreme Court or the entire judicial system in Nigeria should be improved upon. Let's get our acts together. Let's ensure that it is foul-proof, it's mistake-proof, so that the number of mistakes we will encounter will be minimal, to the barest possible minimum. That should be our concern. Not that because it did not favor us today, we must find a way of turning the hand of the clock and opening the decision of the Supreme Court to query. That will have been very terrible. But I'm happy. Then, sorry, the punishment meted out to lawyers.
No, we'll still talk about.
Oh,
we'll still talk about that. Now, Jide, we're talking about the significance of this decision today. Now, the lessons to be learned. Although from this judgment that the 30 million naira was actually given applicants, fined as a fine against the applicants, don't you think this is just a slap on the wrist?
Yes, for those big lawyers, they are extremely rich. There are some lawyers in this country who have private jets. Especially those lawyers who handle election matters, they are stinkingly rich. So this is not money to them. You can imagine a lawyer collecting more than 200 million for one case, one election matter. So what is
30 million?
30 million is no money to them. But it is significant that they've been punished. And I will expect that they will respect themselves and not bring up this kind of matters in future. I saw a lawyer who initially said there was nothing wrong about the Supreme Court judgment and affirmed that the judgment, there was no need seeking a review of it, only to end up as one of the cheerleaders asking that this thing be reviewed. What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us as a people? You can't always have your way. If you are happy, for it to be reversed in respect, in favor of David Lyon, how about Ihedioha? Won't the PDP too think that, it is good for this to be... so where do we then stop? So for everyone that does not favor you, if you must bring the roof down because of that, then the other people too, anyone that does not favor them, they too want heaven to fall. So the thing is, the Supreme Court is the final court of our land. And whatever decision that it takes, we should respect it. They are not God. So they will make mistakes from time to time. But we have to abide by it. I said something yesterday that I still do not believe that I will deserve to go to jail. I still do not deserve that I will plan the coup. Talk to some of the closest to him, they will tell you that that the case was political. But he was eventually jailed. And in handing down that judgment, Justice Showbo said, my hands are tied. Many people interpreted that to mean that, well, he had no choice but to just jail Awo. Many people have been killed in error through a judgment of a court. Many people had been killed in error. So what do we then do? Do we then say that because that has happened, then we will not have faith in the judiciary anymore? No. When the judgment of the judiciary favors you, you will say, the final hope of the common man, the best, you praise them to high heavens. When they do something, when the judgment does not favor you, you will then begin to abuse them, call them names, call some of them harlots, like somebody called a judge harlot over this Bayelsa matter. You call a judge harlot, and her mates are still there. You think they will not be motivated to serve you justice in their own way? So even some of the things that we say, we have to be careful. If we want the judiciary to continue to play the role that it is playing, especially the final court, then whatever decision that it makes, we must abide by it, whether it favors us or not. Today, if it doesn't favor you, tomorrow it may favor you. So we leave it at there. We take it on the chin, like good sportsmen. That's the way it should be. And that's what I asked for. Yes, they've been punished, but I expected that the punishment will have been stronger. But I think still that, well, that is a lesson, a message sent to them that you put your training to shame by bringing this kind of application. I think the words of Justice Aujie was strong enough for anybody, any discerning lawyer, to be able to read between the lines that these people will not tolerate anymore. And it sends a clear signal that even other reviews will end up in the same way. We said it all through the time we discussed this, and we said we have never seen where it happened. Some will say, no, they can reverse themselves, but they can't point to any time when they ever did. It's clear that except the mistake is clerical or the Supreme Court cited the wrong law, to validate his position. That is the ground upon which they can change they can tamper with their judgment, but not to reverse the main kernel of a decision that it has taken. It has never happened, and I'm sure that it will not happen.
That should the Supreme Court have ordered a kind of rerun? Some people are saying that in the case of Imo, that at best the Supreme Court would, instead of declaring Hope Uzodinma, should have just ordered a rerun.
You can cite examples of what they ought to have done. Ought to have done. But that's not what they did. And in establishing our laws, that's our constitution, which defines how we agreed to live together as a people. Forget the fact that the 1999 constitution is being contested. But we are still being, ruled by that law. In agreeing there, we said the Supreme Court will be the final arbiter. And as it is, we looked at a situation where in judgment from 1999, there was a judgment in, I think it was the Adamu Muazu deputy issue. There was a way it was ended. A lot of people were not satisfied with the fact that a rerun was called. You will recall that some people felt that, he ought to have been disqualified along with his deputy. I remember that up to the year 2000 or 2001, or there were still cases in court over that matter. Those who felt that what should have been done was to disqualify Adamu Muazu alongside his deputy. But the Supreme Court at that time felt no. A rerun was called and he went ahead to win again. Then there have been instances of judgments that people still contest even after the Supreme Court. So what I'm saying in essence is, if you look at, I am not a lawyer. I've had many lawyers say the Hedioa case, Hope Uzodinma shouldn't have been declared governor. It should have been a rerun. Well, they may be right, depending on how they are looking at the issue. But the learned judges and justices of the Supreme Court sat down and said, in that situation, these votes have to be nullified. And if we do that, this man is the one left with the highest number of votes. Then we were still battling with that. The arguments were still raging when Bayelsa came. And we looked at Bayelsa. What is the issue? If you equate Bayelsa to what happened in Kogi when Faleke was deputy and the governorship candidate died, you will want to say, if the deputy could not inherit the votes of the governor then Lyon should not have been punished for the sins of his deputy. But I've listened to learned people who said the situations are not the same.
Not the same. Even Muazu is not the same.
Not the same. I've listened to those who say it's not even similar to Muazu's case.
Muazu was a post-election matter.
This one, pre-election.
David Lyon's matter is a pre-election matter. In a pre-election matter, the court is not permitted to order a rerun. The court is only permitted to disqualify.
To decide who the candidate is.
You can disqualify. When the matter is brought before a court to determine whether someone is qualified or not qualified, the court is permitted to disqualify or refuse to disqualify.
So it cannot order
but
a rerun.
It is not permitted to order a rerun.
Because it's not
this
election
matter,
petition.
only a properly constituted election tribunal has the power by our constitution to organize a rerun, to declare a rerun, to order a rerun. So that is the thing. So they cannot give themselves power that
has been the argument.
When the national chairman of APC, when he was marshalling his argument and speaking like a lawyer and, blaming INEC, apportioning blames,
INEC of not,
adding, subtracting,
of doing what the Supreme Court did not tell you to do. That is awarding votes.
That they are going to go to court. What next is it for APC in Bayelsa now?
I believe that APC will still one day rule Bayelsa. If they continue the upward climb, they will still one day rule Bayelsa. So the people of Bayelsa should not kill themselves over politicians. It's meaningless to kill yourself, waste your blood over politicians whose children are schooling abroad. It will be stupid of you to spill your blood over politicians. It's meaningless. So the people of Bayelsa should remain peaceful. The APC should continue. They still have great people. from that state. People like Henneken Lokobiri, good politician. Priya Ganaba, fantastic, brilliant, erudite politician. They are still there.
Beat me and Barry.
You know, all of them. So if they try to come together, chances are that they will one day rule that state. And of course, I believe that they will in future be more careful, because alarm bells have been rung by the fact that this matter, even when they give one at the level of the senatorial election, the matter was taken to court that his certificates had issues. But if I were in their position, that would have made me to look in the direction of someone else.
Because the matter was still in court.
The matter, the reason he won and kept his position in the Senate was because they took the matter to a tribunal, and the court ruled that, look, this is a pre-election matter. So on technical grounds, he won the matter on technical grounds. So that should have alerted them to the danger in fielding this person. So, but to simplify, as we have seen with the Supreme Court, because Nigerians need to learn, to simply produce affidavits to support a change of name. This Supreme Court judgment has shown us that it is not enough. Because the Supreme Court said, no, before you even file the affidavit, you must first do what is called a deed poll. So that deed poll is a legal document. So once you do the deed poll, you then proceed to do the affidavit. But he did not submit a deed poll. So that is the ground upon which his affidavit was nullified. I wanted to read something about a deed poll so that Nigerians will know exactly what it means. A deed poll is a legal document. It is a form of contract. They have one generally accepted meaning and usage, and that is for officially recognizing a change of name. It is also known as a deed of change of name, but commonly known as deed poll. Meaning you are legally committing yourself to 1, abandoning the use of your old name. 2, using your new name only, always and at all times, requiring everyone to address you by your new name. That is what a deed poll means.
But actually, what would make somebody to be changing his name like 5 times over and over again?
He's the only one who can explain that. I don't know him from Adam. I've never met him. He's the only one who can explain that. And he probably thought that an affidavit was enough. But the Supreme Court ruled that an affidavit was not enough. That even before the affidavit, there ought to be a deed poll. So if he has submitted a deed poll, I'm sure he will have survived all this.
Okay, I have my first caller. Hassan is calling us from Lagos.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Hassan. Thank you for joining us.
Please, this is a lesson to all of us in Nigeria.
Yes.
We should be able to read between the lines of commercial lawyers and the real lawyers. Because the essence of law here is to advise a client in most cases if you have a bad case.
Okay.
Look, do you know what they normally call the Supreme Court judgment in the northern Nigeria? Kotun daga ce sai Allah ya isa. After this judgment, then you just wait for the judgment of God if you have anything to say.
Kotun Allah ya
isa. I can see our people don't believe in the realities on the ground. This is a clear undermining of the sanctity of Supreme Court judgment in Nigeria, where you see people calling for review. And you can see that our politicians are very, very desperate. They don't believe in the sanctity of judgment unless that judgment favors them. May God help us.
Thank you, Hassan.
Good evening, all of you.
Okay, I'll quickly take this break. That when we come back, we'll discuss more. It's still Journalist Hangout. Please, we'll be right back. If you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangouts. Babajide, so we're still dissecting this judgment. Future lessons.
Yeah. As I said earlier, in picking their candidates, the APC and all the parties have to be very careful. Because if you make a mistake, the opponents will capitalize. And I think that even for us journalists and other people, we have learned valuable lessons about our law, about the judiciary. Many people were saying, no, PDP had no right to institute that case in the first place. But the Electoral Act permits an ordinary individual to file a matter challenging the qualification of another person. Yeah. An ordinary person, not even belonging to either of the parties. The Electoral Act permits a person to file an action. So this is what we have seen. The Electoral Act also says clearly the grounds upon which a person can be disqualified, upon which election can be nullified. So once people sit up, it's just that our leadership recruitment modus, when we're talking about our parties, is wrong. A lot of these parties just merely want to put their cronies, their loyalists in positions. They do not subject such people to
thorough scrutiny.
I gave the example of the former chief of naval staff in Kogi, who was disqualified from contesting against Bello by the same APC because one of his documents read 1959 and another one read 1960. Just because of that, they said no, they disqualified him. Of course, clearly they wanted even Bello alone to emerge, you know. But if you can be that thorough in Kogi, in respect of the screening of your candidates, then what happened in Bayelsa? And it's not only in Bayelsa. Go and check. Go and check. APC has lost many House of Assembly, House of Rep seats on account of this kind of mistakes.
Falsification of documents.
Yes, go and check. So many. The other parties have benefited more than APC from the disqualification of candidates. So if we have this situation, then something is wrong.
About the process.
Yes, you constitute screening committees, and they don't do a good job. You then come and then blame judges. The truth is, no matter how many people give the mandate to a politician, the expression of the will of the people must also be in tune with the dictates of the Constitution. Once it conflicts with the Constitution, then the court will move in and do what is right. So I sympathize with the Bayelsa people that the person they voted for is not the governor. But the truth is, even if every living soul in Bayelsa votes for a candidate, as long as in their conduct and in the documents filed by them, by the party, it runs conflict, the actions run conflict with the Constitution, then you can expect that it could be disqualified and the will of the people will not prevail. So this is the thing. Politicians have to learn. Do your best. What is required is not even stringent. Just bring school leaving certificates and go. Some of them will go and want us to know that they did MBA, they did this, they did that, certificates that they cannot defend.
If you write to the school abroad, most of them they'll be denied.
Did it not happen with Salisu Buhari? You know, who claimed that he went to school and those people sent a notification back to the news magazine then that we have no such student in our record. So,
and they just needed a school certificate.
They just present it and you are good to go. Yet you go and fight. There is a particular politician from one of the northwest states who had 15 forged certificates. 15. This is how it happened. Who do you want to impress by bringing all those funny claims? Oh, I went to school here, I went to school there, I went to school here, I went to school there.
I went to Harvard.
And you cannot, those documents are fake. Who do you want to impress? What do you want to use that to achieve? Is that the new means of toasting women? So what is the thing? So people have lessons to be learned from.
That recruitment process in terms of political parties, how they get their candidates. Now I think the spotlight will be on that screening committee. Yeah. Very, very important now.
Very important. Very important. And how do we show some level of seriousness. But you see, the thing with Nigeria is when things like this happen, we make a lot of noise. And after a while, we allow it to simmer, and we go back to doing things the old way. With this, with the failure of this review, I expect the APC to do something to show seriousness. Beam the spotlight on that particular screening committee. What went wrong? Let's call them out. What they have done, and you know the funny aspect of it, majority, I am sure, because I haven't covered politics for a while, majority of members of that screening committee will not be from Bayelsa. They won't be from Bayelsa. And they cost the people of Bayelsa their own will. It is clear in law that there will be no mandate without constitutionality. Every mandate must be in tune with the provisions of the Constitution. During the struggle for the validation of June 12, one major argument of the anti-June 12 advocate was the fact that the Constitution was breached in the production of MK Abiola as the president. They kept citing various breaches, either true and untrue. But what they were trying to establish is that once a mandate is not in tune with the Constitution, so I expect the APC to start with, to call out members of that screening committee. We have it on good authority. Many screening committees to arrive the particular state, they will be lodged. We will not even have evidence of bribery.
Yes,
they will be lodged in an hotel for days. And reporters will be visiting the venue, the slated venue for the screening, as well as their hotel, for days. I recall it during the 2015 election. I was one like that in a state we covered. And we kept going for like 5 days. On the 5th day, the spokesperson of the party in that particular state called us and said the screening was done yesterday, and they left. And while we were still there, the result of the screening was being announced. And you see, we see things like this. The result has shown, this result has shown that if you continue to cut corners, you will pay for it.
Finally,
know better.
Finally, this I think it's very unfortunate for Mr. David Lyon. Over 300,000 people in Bayelsans voted for him, and as you've said, that no matter the number of people that voted for him, so it's just a lesson.
The people's will must be in tune with the dictates of the Constitution. So that's it. A million people can vote for you, but if you do not possess the requisite qualification, you'll be disqualified.
Just like Lord Denham said, you can't put something on nothing and expect it.
And the position now is that it was not qualified.
If you are convicted and less than 10 years after you come to contest and your party allows you to run and you win, you'll be disqualified. And your party will not be allowed to substitute. Or people will say, oh, David Lyon should have been allowed to substitute.
The new law.
No, the law does not permit him to.
There's a time frame.
The law does not permit him to. Once you've submitted list of your candidates, there's no room for substitution. You know, I said it at that time that in Akwa Ibom, APC will not be allowed to substitute Akpabio. And that's what happened. So that law says that within 45 days, if you are going to replace, you must replace. After that, no more.
All right. Nigeria appears to have left its house unattended for long, and now things are in disarray. Worsening insecurity is one of the fallouts. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamo, has let it be known that for effective tackling of insecurity in the country, the force needs to improve its arsenal and technology. This, according to him, require 250,000 assault rifles, 1,000 armored personnel carriers or APCs, 774 drones, 2 million tear gas canisters, and 1,000 tracking devices, among others. Babajide, this is big money. Big money. Looking at what they've lined up, but for effective policing, you know, not to outstretch the military guys in their primary responsibility for internal security to be able to deal with the bandits and boast of superior firepower. That's 250,000 assault rifles, 1,000 armed APCs, 774 drones, 2 million tear gas canisters, and 1,000 tracking vehicles.
It needs 1 drone per local government.
Yeah, 774.
Yes. Do we even still have up to 774? Because we've ceded Bakassi to Cameroon.
We still have vacancy somewhere else.
We don't. Part of what used to constitute the 774 local governments have gone to Bakassi. So when Nigerians say 774 local government, it's because they do not remember that we yielded Bakassi to Cameroon.
And we've not amended our constitution, so it's still there.
But the reality is that those local governments they are not part of Nigeria anymore. Some of those local governments, they hold Bakassi, they are gone. So that is the thing. It's just that it's still there in the constitution on paper, but in reality, we do not have up to 774 local governments anymore. So the truth is, the police have been left unattended to for so long. And I'm convinced that if we provide them with the right tools, they will deliver the goods. Yes, there are many bad eggs in the police. All those policemen in SARS killing people for fun, you know. I don't know what the IG is doing, that he cannot clean up SARS. Because SARS is making many people to lose faith in the police. It's making many Nigerians to not want to have anything to do with the police. But the police cannot succeed unless Nigerians constantly provide them with intels that they can use to tackle insecurity. But the truth is, when you look at the funding of the police got only 20 billion last year. Just 20 billion. Whereas South Africa got more than 1 trillion. South African police got more than 1 trillion in 2018. Look at the difference.
Look at the population.
Yes, the population of South Africa is now up to 60 million. Just about 54 or so, now up to 60 million. We were about 200 million people, approximately, because we've not done a census. But what we have is not enough. We don't have enough policemen. We said, okay, on the average, let us even do recruitment 10,000 every year. Even that one, we can't sustain it. We can't do it regularly. And people are leaving the police constantly. People are being killed. Policemen are being killed. There's no day that they don't kill policemen in our country. Policemen are retiring. You know. So this is the thing. The things that they are asking for, it may seem outlandish to Nigerians, but that is basically what they need. That's basically what they need to have an effectively run police. The funding of the police is key. The Nigerian police has not been well funded. We were talking about the fact that DPOs take about 30,000 as interest per quarter. Even that money. Not every month, not monthly. It's per quarter. Even that money, if you have a friend amongst them, they will tell you that even that money many times will not come. That's why you find disused. You go to police bars, you see disused cars. Their tires had been removed. That's why there's distress call. The policemen will be asking whether you have vehicle to take them, or that they don't have fuel.
Policemen in Danfo.
They use their own money. They use their own money to run their police units. That's why people say that police operations are largely even funded by proceeds of crime. So, what are proceeds of crime? People, criminals who come to bribe and all that. It's still some money that policemen collect from such people that are used to conduct their own operations. Because we are not funding the police properly. Why shouldn't the police have enough APCs? Why shouldn't they have drones? Why shouldn't they have enough helicopters? You see in South Africa, they are chasing criminals. You see an helicopter overhead, pursuing them and firing at them. I've seen videos. But we don't see that in Nigeria. The police is thoroughly overstretched. All their training institutions are literally collapsed. No windows, nothing. You just send them out, go and train people. How can policemen that you are sending out for training in ramshackle training centers, how can they come out to be good police officers? The training institutes already teach them to be bad people. So by the time they come out, they will turn their guns on innocent people. Or even some of them could even be robbers. You know, so this is the thing. We have to do something. I thought that at a point that a bill was before the National Assembly that will ensure that corporate concerns fund the police. I thought that was something.
The states are embracing that
and their
now.
money will come like a first line charge. I thought that was the plan. What is difficult in making this happen? In a country where lawmakers are giving themselves immunity and doing it in a jiffy. What is difficult in doing that?
Sharp.
What is difficult in funding the police properly? So it's unfortunate.
That
really.
When you look at the fact that, look, they've been underfunded and even the morale is low, remuneration low, everything low. They have to get their uniforms, get their boots, get everything, you know. And a lot of them, when you see policemen and you out there, you won't be impressed. But when you see some officers anyway, those ones highly educated, cerebral, like
they give you a different impression.
Yes, when you see my friend Frank Kumba, LLB, LLM, and you see,
and you begin to think that he's not a member of the Nigerian police.
yeah.
Different elegance.
Yes, but when you see the ones on the road,
the different
far cry, yeah.
Yeah, well, you see, it's
so are you encouraging Frank not to dress properly now?
It's funny. A policeman who arrests a young man for being improperly dressed. And you look at the policeman himself and the way he's kitted, you pity the Nigerian police force. I was opportuned to be in Shagamu during this recent crisis. And when the policeman who fired that shot was held by the parents of Kaka at the hospital where he died, we were there. And you know, we tried interrogating this policeman. I was weeping. The policeman who killed Kaka cannot speak a single sentence of English language. Not, I'm saying it on air. He couldn't respond. You know, questions were being asked in English, and he was responding in Yoruba and speaking out of line because he was actually not understanding the questions. All efforts to make him speak in English failed. That is the inspector. He's an inspector.
How did he go through the police class?
Good. I'm only buttressing what the maestro said about police training. Meaning that no training is just being done there. We bundle them there, they hit and sleep there for a few days, we throw them out. This guy could not make a single sentence in English. We prodded him, we pushed him, we tried. Aside that, Inspector, you need to look at his person and you will see no policing in him at all. He's so uncoordinated that you will expect that anytime he's on any assignment, things like that can just happen. His mindset is another issue. So if you have a policeman, if that is the representation of the average policeman in Nigeria,
what is it with our police with people on dreadlocks?
It is just, I call it game. He leaves his house or his office looking for who to exploit. He won't see you dressed like this and approach you. You won't give him money. You argue your way out. If I'm in tie and he stops me and you want to, I will argue my way out. What have I done? But you are in dreadlock. Or you are sagging. He will pin something on you. And then at the end of the day, he will pack you somewhere and successfully exploit you. That is about the person of the police.
You are dressed the way you are dressed.
Looking at the issue of equipment. Sincerely, I've said this before somewhere. I want to repeat it again. I think it is high time the police start telling us what they have and not what they don't have. I think it will make government and the people understand their plight better. If you read that, when you were reading out this figure, I was also lost in the hugeness of what you were reading. But if you compare it to what they need, it is nowhere near. Let them tell us that for all the policemen, they have just 30,000 rifles. Let us tell them the fact that they don't have one helicopter to aid them in what they have to do. Let them tell us the number of APCs they have, and let us see how inadequate that is. Let us tell them the number of policemen we even have in the entire Nigeria, guiding and policing all of us. While we are speaking about not having enough equipment, those policemen who want to go on illegal duty always find a way of getting themselves armed. Those who are on legal duties, those who are on legitimate duties are unarmed. But those who want to sneak out to go and harass Yahoo boys, those who want to sneak out to go and harass landowners and help Ajagungbales, you will see Ajagungbales on duty and you will see policemen giving them cover, and they are well armed. So the few arms we have are used for illegitimate duties, while those who ought to protect life and properties are left dying. Talking about vehicles, why are they still using Danfo and unbranded vehicles? Because when you enter their police stations, all their vehicles, the tires are deflated.
And they pay.
Mechanic
They
don't
hire
even,
those vehicles. So.
they hire and pay.
They hire them.
And pay.
So that means
AY.
for them to pay.
Yes.
That means
No, because they too will make money.
They will make money. Automobile technicians, when they see policemen where their vehicle has issues, they always run away. And you ask them why, they will not pay.
They will repair it and not pay.
They will force you to repair.
You know what it says? when Latin War took over as governor of Kwara, there were some army vehicles, government vehicles with all those mechanics.
Roadside mechanics and
So there was a mechanic, a government mechanic, that they sent soldiers to go and collect some vehicles. So because he had not been paid, he was very angry. So when he was fixing the tires, he was fixing them in a way that those soldiers, on their way, they will have an accident and die. So they left him alone to be fixing those tires haphazardly. So one of them said, Toba will command that I don't know.
That started all over.
That if you like, don't tighten
well. We are
this.
going together.
Don't tighten this place well. We are going together. So he went back to all the 4 tires.
Really? I saw an automobile technician who said his workshop is very close to a police station. And he told me that anytime they drive out any of those ramshackled vehicles, he will just leave his workshop because you know they are bringing it to him.
How come sometimes we talk about the Lagos model here, and how come as a country we can't adopt that? You said that there was a time we talk police equipment foundation. I've forgotten the full name, but it was riddled with scam and everything. Now there's a Lagos State Security Trust Fund that is well managed from inception. Those are the people.
States are doing it now. States are imbibing it.
Most banks, they call the corporate organizations in those states, and they come together and they aid, and they've been helping RRS a great deal.
By which those banks, they are helping to fight security in our country, and some states are already imbibing the idea. But you see, the thing, RRS is such a perfectly run unit within the police. You know. And they have ensured that Lagos is so well policed that as big as Lagos is, the kind of crimes that happen in Kaduna and other crime-infested states, they don't happen here. They don't happen here. You hardly hear of kidnapping here. And when it happens, they will get them. They have the technology, the kind of technology available to Abakari and his people. They also have it in RRS here. If someone steals a phone, they can easily locate where that person is and they'll get the phone. Even somebody who stole phones in South Africa and brought the phones to Nigeria, they arrested him. RRS arrested him here in Nigeria. Someone who stole phone all the way from South Africa. So this is the thing, technology. We have to have a technology-driven police force. And all of these things cost money. The kind of money that previous administrations invested in the police in Lagos, when other state governments begin to invest that money, our communities will be better policed. This is the truth. But we seem not to be ready. We can't have just 302 policemen in Nigeria, according to the police. And a lot of these people are they are protecting VIPs for white people. Some of them are carrying umbrellas for white people in our country, and subjecting them to all kinds of indignity that they don't allow in their own countries. So out of these 302, maybe more than 100,000 plus are even guiding
about
VIPs.
50,000 people.
VIPs and oil workers.
And we're under police.
We are under police. That's why crime is rampant in our country.
I want to thank you, Derek Odufokun. Thank you for your analysis. And BQ himself, thank you for adding spice to the program. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.